Yo, YouTube, how we doing? How we feeling? Um, another day, another recording or stream, should I say? So what we're about to get into today? Let me see. All right, instinct. We're gonna talk about instinct. Okay, we'll go live. Topic today: instinct. Okay, go live. Da 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 da. Hello, 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 hello. Yo, how we doing? Everything okay? Might as well get Twitch now. I always do this. Get Twitch right before I start. Do you know what I did? I genuinely trimmed the time literally to an hour. So I keep doing what I'm doing on a daily basis until it's ready to stream and I just set up and go. You know? Twitch. Alright, there we go. Downloading it. See? Boom. Right. So today we're discussing instinct. Instinct. Okay. Let me just say something, right? I pick topics out of randomly just select. They can be anything about like whatever, right? My argument is, well, not really an argument, but like my what I'm saying is that I think most things do matter more than not. So unfortunately, you can't learn everything. So you need to find the thing that you can. You need to find the area that you are well suited for, but you also need to have like a rough idea of most things because they do matter at the end of the day, and they can teach you something. So that's what I. That's my is an argument. I don't know if it's an argument, but that's just what I'm proposing, I guess. And with these streams, you see that there's a cataclysm. There's a place where they're all going to come together, right? So I'm just sort of, I guess, um, pushing through. Okay, instinct. Let's get straight into it. Firstly, let me get up my let me get up my Chrome. All right, there we go. Boom. Right, let me save this. This was yesterday's topic. Save the file. Let's say timeline of the world. I think I already saved this. Yeah, I did actually. All right, I'm just gonna delete it. Boom. Now, what we have today is instinct. Okay, so all right. How do we explain what instinct means or what it is, right? And when I'm doing my streams and like I'm trying to sort of understand these topics, I can really move into any direction. It can be more like looking at it from a perspective of like art and like subjective meaning of it. It can be like more like really focused and dialed down. It could be loose, right, in terms of like really stretching what it means a lot and trying to find connections here and there to other different topics. You don't really know what you're gonna get, right? There might be like some you can after a couple of videos you can see some formula, uh, surprising from sort of what I do, but I like the fact that it can go in any direction. So, instinct. What is it? Um, would I say it's an act? Instinct. Hmm. What is instinct? It's like a sense, right? So, what are the other senses? Is like you have a sense of sight, right? You have the sense of touch, sense of smell, right? Like I'm flying with this sense of hearing. What's the last one? See. The sense of seeing, like, oh, I already said it's sight. Hmm. So sight, touch, smell, hear. What's the last one? I might go. I don't know. What's the last sense? Sight, touch, smell, hear. I genuinely don't know. Wow, this is embarrassing. It's very embarrassing. It's instinct. The last one. Okay, so sight, touch, smell, hear, and they speak. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Well, speak. Okay. All right. We'll just leave it. We'll just leave it as that. Okay. Cool. Right. These are the five instincts. These are the five senses that we have. Right. My claim is instinct is it's a type of sense. It's like how you would define the ability to see is also the ability of instinct. Right. That's how I think about it anyway. Right. It's like it's it's innate, right? Like sight, like touch. Um, I was gonna say it's something you can't buy, but like I don't know if that's the right sort of way to describe it. It's something that's I would say it's innate. Okay, fine. Let me just say that. Right, it's innate. So it's everyone possesses this sense, right? I would say instinct is like a sense. That's how I would describe it. Um, but the thing is, it's not something that you can tap into all the time, right? When you want to see something, it's never off. Like you need, yeah. I would say it's not something that's necessary, right? All the time. That's why you have the five senses, but there are also some senses like instinct that are that sort of turns on when needed, you know. Um. So that's how I would describe instinct, right? Now, moving further, right? Being innate, being something that just sort of springs up when necessary, right? So instinct, I would say this. It's a type of sense that springs up when necessary, when necessary, right? That's what I would say. So most senses, you sort of it's needed all the time, right? It's like sight, you need to see, right? You need to be able to feel because that's. But like instinct is like it's something that kicks in when you need it. It's like it can be trained. I think most things can actually be trained. Like for example, A blind person's sense of smell and touch and hearing is heightened because they rely on it more than somebody who doesn't have that, right? So instincts can actually be trained based on the type of situations you find yourself in. If you sort of, I guess, are able to tap into your instinct, um, no, I wouldn't say that. I'll say it's like it's something that just happens involuntarily when necessary, but depending on how trained your instinct is, right, would be how great or how would I say productive? Not productive. Reliable, right? I would say your instincts, depending on how much it's sort of trained, would make it more or less reliable. So let's give an example, right? Somebody with good instincts in like a particular problem. So let's say it's problem specific. Okay, I'll say use case. The use. Yo, what's good? What's up? How you doing? I don't know why this is not showing up here. It should be. Did it? I'm not sure if it did. The chat box. Look, I'm very very new to this, so well, I'm not really new to it. It's like I've been streaming for 30 days, 35 now. Well, how you doing, Frank? Should I call you Frank? Frank, right? Right. Anyway, back to this. Okay, so it's like I would say it's a lost my train of thought. Okay, so it's a type of sense that springs up when necessary, right? It's innate and it can be trained, right? But the thing is, instinct is involuntary. So, but it's needed in very specific. The use case is specific to different problems. Problems, right? That's what I'm gonna say. So, your instinct, right? It you tap into it when you need it, right? For some person, let's say um they're a businessman, right? Let's take a businessman for instance, right? Let's say there is a very high pressure negotiation like deal, right? They're at the negotiation table, and it's like with very high profile like clients or whatever the case may be. Now, depending on just that person's, I guess, natural state of being, right, and how experienced that person in, when there's a situation that they've never seen before, I think their instincts can kick in that situation, kind of like a fight or flight, and based on how well trained their instinct is to sort of um not uncover but to navigate a never seen before high pressure scenario, right? It could be the tool or the sense that helps them through that. Like for example, let's take it back and compare it to another sense, right? If there's a leak, a gas leak, and you smell it, you're not gonna stay there longer. So that's your sense of smell, like sort of um, highlighting the danger in a situation, and then you use your sense of your ability to move to get out of that place, right? What instinct does is very specific to use cases. It's involuntary, right? And based on how well trained it is, it will just spring up randomly, and then you can just, I guess, be taken care of based on you are, how well your instinct works in those types of situations, right? Now, based on who you are, you can also have like something more like a general. Okay, I'll actually say this, right? Every person, right? I don't care if you're a guy, right? Girl, right? I don't care. But man, woman, I don't care, right? Every person has a general instinct, right? Everyone has general instinct. But depending on how you are and how well trained a particular aspect of instinct is others, it can actually increase like the general one, your general instinct, right? And now in the general instinct, even if there are situations you've never come across before, like situations of very high pressure fight or flight, right? Adrenaline, okay? Your adrenaline, ad, adrenaline, adrenaline, right? Your adrenaline, right, works together with your instinct, right? And you can be more efficient in those scenarios, right? More efficient in those scenarios, you know? So, yeah. So I'd say instinct is definitely problem specific, but it can also be general, right? And it's a type of sense that kicks in involuntarily in order for you to act upon a problem to solve it, or to help you get out of a dangerous scenario, or what your body perceives as a dangerous scenario, you know? But is instinct only for like those types of scenarios? Can't instinct pop up in something different, right? It's like it highlights a better option. Okay, so also say that I'll say instinct highlights a better option, right? That's what it does. It highlights a better option. Okay. Another example. Right. Let me think of one. Um. Let's say you're deciding what to study. Right. You're finished your in America it'll be like SATs, and you're deciding what college to go to. Right. You obviously, in the time allocated to picking, unless you've known exactly what you want to do for the longest time. But if you're a type of person like the regular secondary school student, you aren't really all that worried. Not worried, but you're not really all that um, knowledgeable on how what you pick, on what you pick is gonna do for you, right? You're not like the most knowledgeable, so you have to do research. And depending on your, I guess, instinct or who you would this be a good option? I was gonna say depending on your instinct, right? You in like when it's like a tight deadline to figure out what you're gonna do, you can pick the better option, or your instincts like kicks in order for you to pick the better option. But I think that's different though. So let me go back. I think maybe it's more about the flight or fight scenarios, right? But the less, uh, but but those scenarios that are less reliant on adrenaline, you know, those ones would be the highest level of threat. Okay, so we spoke about threat before, right? So there's a low level and there's the highest level of threat. Okay, I would say your instinct kicks in around mid to high, right? Here, this is where your instinct kicks in, right? In order for you to, so I would say this is threat level, right? It works along this region, right? It gives you sort of another cushion of help, right? You have all your five senses, you have your brain, but your instincts gives you just another cushion to like push it forward to help. Okay, so that's sort of what it does, and it works well in high pressure scenarios that make you feel some bit of like pressure and threat, right? So, but from the medium to high, right? This is the highest, so that's where it works. Okay, so I actually think that is not too bad. that's not too bad to really showcase instinct. It's not really. I'm also thinking, um, I should probably right. I should probably be as I'm moving along with different topics, try to link them together as well. I've made so many different types of days that I actually haven't given myself any amount of time to actually like do what I've said I'm gonna do. And I just want to do the sort of things that are most entertaining, I guess. But maybe I'll try some days. I'll just link two ideas or something. But I do want to build up a lot of topics first. Okay, so from all of this, what can I say instinct is? I have to come up with a final statement, right? I think we actually did this quite quickly. Sasa. Okay, so I'll say instinct is a type. Okay, I'll just say instinct is an involuntary is an involuntary sense. Senses are more sense organs. There's no flipping. There's no instant. Like hearing is like you have your organ of to hear, smell, same thing. You have your nose and touch, sight. So they're based on organ, but the flip you get where do you get instinct from? I think instinct is more like a biological process that happened. So how can that be a sense? Is instinct like a biological process that combines different senses in order to act, different sense organs in order to act on something? It's like a would I say it's more of like a signal that kicks in rather than a sense? Because a sense is well involuntary sense. So I mean, yeah, that could potentially be a signal. Yeah. What is instinct? And we can't get things very wrong. That's the whole. That's not the whole point. Like we obviously want to look smart rather than dumb, but it's okay to get things wrong, right? Because we're going to still look it up and find out and see how terribly wrong we were. But the thing I like about doing this is like the process of getting to the right answer. You know, even if you get 99.9% of things right, there's still something you're gonna get wrong. So it's a process that matters, right? Because you can repeat that process to um, give you a tool to use to like really make sure you're particular about the things you know. And according to this, I don't really know much. So instinct, right? I'm claiming at the start, right? It's more of a sense, and I listed out the senses. But I'm looking at it. I'm double looking, and I'm like, maybe that's not right because senses, right? You have all your sense organs. Like you have your skin, you have your nose, you have your ears, you have your sort of voice box mouth, and like way to communicate. You have your eyes to see. But instinct, it's more of a biological process that happens. Like it sent, like I think something somewhere sends some signal. I don't know where from or what organ, but like it sends some signal, or I think it might be your brain that sends the signal actually, or something like that, right? Because like it's something involuntary that just kicks in, right? At a time of need, right? Your sense of sight, smell, touch, all of that, they don't kick in. They're just always there because you just have it. But instinct is different. It's like it's like a signal to alarm, not to alarm you. It's like you notice something, right? And then it's would instincts be like a response to high threat scenario? But okay, let me actually really get into this, right? I'm saying, let's say this is a person, right? Let's say this is a person, okay? Right. This is a person, right? Is instinct, right, a actual biological process that stems from the brain, right? I think what I'm about to say might be the exact same thing, but just framed differently. Is it a biological process that just stems from the brain, right? That kicks in involuntarily, you know? Or is it like just the reaction to something, right? It doesn't stem from the brain, but it stems from a condition, right? Well, like you know what I mean? Like it's the exact same thing, but it's more of like an external condition that happens and then something kicks in. And that's referred to as instinct. Is that it? I'm saying this very, very wrong. Okay. First one. First one is right. A signal. A signal to the sense organs to act in order for you to react to a scenario. Or is it just a reaction to a scenario? So it's not the signal, but the actual act itself. You have good instincts. It has to be the signal. It has to be the signal. And to and I think the action is the product of the actual thing, right? Your instinct is the signal, but the product of the signal is what you do based on your instincts. You know? So I would say it is a physiological process that happens. Well, it does happen in reaction to a scenario, but the thing itself is a signal from the brain to act. So instinct is a signal from the brain to act. All right, let's write that in. Instinct is a signal from the brain to act in reaction to a scenario with a medium to high threat level. Give me 1 second. I'll be back. Right. Ugh. Okay. So, right. So instinct is a signal, right, from the brain to act. Excuse me. To act in react. Signal from the brain to act, right? In reaction to a scenario with a medium. No. Medium to high threat level. Ah. Okay, instinct is a signal from the brain to act in a reaction. Act. Instinct is a signal from the brain to act in reaction to a medium to high threat level scenario. I don't think that's too bad, right? You see how it happened? We were going with something first and then we moved the goalpost a little bit because it was much clearer. Because we can't just identify it as a sense because it's not a sense, right? Instances there's a significant difference from this that has no organ or nothing really, like to these. There's a reason these are called the senses because they are very particular, specific, and with the things they have in common. This has nothing in common with this, so you can say it's a type of sense, but it's not though, right? So have to get that right. Right, right. Let's go down. Right. Instinct is a signal from the brain to act in reaction to a medium to high threat level scenario. I think that's already calm. I think that's already okay. You know, um, we're gonna have a look. We're gonna have a look at. Can I see the difference? Yeah, we're gonna have a look at what the internet actually says about it and compare it. But first, I actually need to do something on Twitch because hmm, mm, right. Um, okay, let's look it up. And I think today we should probably watch a video because I think instinct is one that probably have more. That's my see. I don't put anything here because I don't want to be distracted. Sometimes when I come to stream, like these videos just pop up and I be distracted. So I don't want that. That's why I put this ad block. That's why, yeah, I'm just not updating it, yeah, and all that. Yeah, you know what I mean. I don't have an ad blocker at all. No. No, not ad blocker. Yeah, no, 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 no. Okay, so right, define what what is instinct. Intuition and instincts, they're two different things. Ooh, trust your instincts. Now I'm thinking that instinct is something completely different. Instinct is not really a reaction to a. Oh, well, it is. It's a signal from the brain in reaction to a scenario, but it's also more. It's like, would I say instinct is mostly correct? No, I can't say that. I don't know. I actually don't know. Let me see. What is it? What is instinct? Is there a correlation between instinct and intuition? Hmm. And how did I get anything from that? I'm seeing a lot of intuition, but I need to go for instinct first. But I think that there is gut instinct.
Now we learn the meaning of the word. Instinct. Meaning of the word. An inborn pattern of behavior or a natural inclination that is often automatic and not learned through experience.
Okay. I spoke about experience, but it's not about experience. It's a natural inclination. It's like it's well, I did say it was innate, right? But then I moved into it being something that can be improved on. Can it be? No, it's a natural inclination. Yeah, that's often automatic and not learned through experience.
First example. Birds have a natural instinct to migrate south in the winter. Definition. Actions.
This is kind of a boring video.
I want to come back to this question of instinct because, I mean, I think there was this old idea that, oh, humans have agency. I mean, obviously we have evolutionary drives, but we're not fundamentally governed by instinct. Whereas animals, it's all about instinct. It's all about, evolutionary imperatives. And my sense is that kind of thinking has sort of gone out the window. But I don't know. I mean, Ken, how do you think?
I think that's right. I mean, humans have powerful instincts. Many times we tend to bury them. We have, obvious instincts, a drive towards food, a drive towards sex to reproduce and so forth. But there's, an entire field that E.O. Wilson once called sociobiology, which is the evolution of social behavior among animals. And when you apply that to humans, you discover some interesting things. And one of those are the instincts we have to behave in certain ways towards people who are blood relatives. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. It's sort of a chilling example. There are statistics from the US, from Canada, and from the Scandinavian countries comparing instances of infanticide.
Okay, these words are big. This was a very big. I'm gonna keep watching, but yeah, sometimes like just like you, some of these words is just. But yeah, let's go.
In families where the father was the biological father of the child victim and where the father was the stepfather. And the instances of infanticide in all cases, fortunately, are extremely rare. But an adopted, a stepfather is in various studies anywhere from 50 to 70 times more likely to kill the stepchild than a biological child.
What percentage?
The stepchild 70 times more is in various studies anywhere from 50 to 70 times more likely to kill the stepchild than a biological child.
50 or 70% times more likely to kill a stepchild than a biological child. So you have, I guess, human beings have a particular instinct towards how they treat um, their biological relatives, like their blood relatives. So let's keep going.
Now, that's a chilling statistic. And I remember lecturing about it to my freshman biology class, and I said, it's going to be shocking. So brace yourself. And all of you who come from families with step parents might wonder how you survived to the age to be university. But even in that case of the stepfather, the incidence over a lifetime is something like 1 in 3,000. So most step parents are loving and effective parents. I believe that absolutely. But what is the instinct that overlays the human tendency towards aggression, the human tendency to react violently and so forth, is obviously a strong instinct towards the preservation and nurturing of those whom we know and can identify as blood relatives. And I see no other way to sort of account for the origin of that other than to say that is an instinct. And it's an instinct related to something called kin selection. And kin selection is something that happens that basically involves the evolution of altruistic behaviors, self-sacrificing behaviors, which can be favored by evolutionary pressures if they are directed towards those who are close relatives. Because in a way, any gene or group of genes motivating such behavior can have an adaptive advantage because that gene is likely engendering behavior that is taking care of copies of itself, because that's what family members have, is a slice of your own genetic information. So those instincts in terms of human behavior are strong, even if we don't realize they're there.
So let me ask the question in the
Okay, just to explain what he said in I guess simpler English. Basically, right? We treat our family members better. That's good. Okay, let's go.
opposite way. What do you think? And I'm addressing
Because of our instinct. I'm looking here, but I'm actually meant to be looking here because this is where you are. Camera positioning. And it's streamer. I'm a streamer. Camera position. Okay, it's lost.
this to any of you. What do you think cannot be explained through what we would call evolutionary psychology, or what E.O. Wilson called sociobiology? That it's not fundamentally about survival, reproduction, or food. It's just those just don't explain it at all. What falls outside of those categories in humans or in other animals? Carl, what would you say?
Well,
Let me see how intuition relates with instincts. Because this is what I'm doing. Like I keep saying that I'm using intuition to sort of carry out these topics to really, I'm just thinking for myself, really trying to use my intuition to carry out these topics, like I guess from like learning here and there, or from just basic passive knowledge, I'm just trying to see how far I can push sort of my own reasoning, right, to really try to answer or explore a particular topic correctly. So I say it's intuition, but let's see if I'm right.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it just by thinking about it.
Ads.
Meet Base 4.
Do you ever get that feeling in your gut that something is the right or wrong decision, but you don't know why? Our intuition is often deemed as mysticism or linked with telepathy and
Oh, no,
premonitions, but is there a science behind it? Should you trust your intuition? Understanding something immediately without conscious
Okay, that's another thing, right? I am using my intuition, but does that mean I trust my intuition? No. Well, I mean not no. I mean like if you can really define why, right? I think it's better than to just say, "Oh, my intuition is always right." Like for me, I'm telling you, I get things wrong all the time. But I'm trying to get to the answer, but I'm trying to not do it the quick way, like to just watch a video, because all that information is gonna leave, So stick with it, stay with it, understand it, know the process, like the talking process about it, and then come back to it. That's why I think through it first, right? Then I sort of search about it, and then everything, both my thoughts and what is here, I, plug it into the Discord, right? So we have like a whole sort of like repository of what we have looked over, and then we can always come back to it and develop it more, So that's what I do.
Reasoning is less about seeing into the future and more to do with pattern recognition. If I showed you this
Pattern recognition. There we go.
layout of an actual chess game for 5 seconds, could you reproduce it? Studies show that most chess novices can recreate 25% of it, but chess masters do it with 95% accuracy. However, if the task is repeated with the pieces in completely random positions, both novices and masters only recall 25%. The masters don't have photographic memory. They simply use their knowledge and intuition based on patterns they have seen over years of practice. Our brain processes information through both slow.
I actually saw that in a book, funnily enough. Moonwalking with Einstein, very good book. It literally talks about memory and stuff, and that was one of the tests that I guess the narrator sort of did on one of unlike chess masters and stuff. No, one of the tests that he saw, because he was a journalist, so he was going around to try to understand memory, and then there were these scientists that were doing experiments on chess players, on chess masters, as well as like random people, right, control groups, to see how much of a chessboard they can remember. And it's kind of cool that
and fast thinking. For example, this math problem will cause a stress response, and your brain will kick into slow thinking to solve it. But this picture involves fast thinking. Understanding the emotion of sadness is an immediate brain response, and this fast thinking is where intuition lies. In a similar study on the Japanese board game shogi, participants were asked to solve a checkmate move within 1 second. With no time for conscious analysis, brain scans showed no activation of the cortex in expert shogi players, the part of the brain responsible for conscious thought. Instead, the basal ganglia, which is linked to habit formation and automatic behaviors, was triggered. Interestingly, when it comes to complex decisions like buying a house, while many believe careful thought with the pros and cons list is best, one study actually found that participants made better choices when they went with their snap decision. It turns out we often only take into account a subset of relevant information, which can lead to us weighing the importance of each attribute inaccurately. The study also found that those who trusted their gut were more satisfied with their decisions in the long run.
I'm streaming at the moment. Which one? Wait. Never mind. Alright.
Than those who thought through the process carefully. However, when making simple purchases like which toothpaste to buy, where variables are not as complex, the study found intentional thought and research to be helpful. Think you can identify the sound of your own voice? Surprisingly, after listening to a recording of many voices in succession, including their own, 75% of participants in the study made a mistake recognizing their own voice. But the most fascinating part is that their skin conductance was also measured, and these levels went much higher when their own voice came on, even though they didn't consciously recognize their voice, suggesting they had ignored their intuition, which knew the correct answer first. This same phenomenon was shown in a card game that uses 4 decks of cards. The participants would select a card from any pile, which would either be good or bad. Without them knowing at first, decks A and B had more bad cards, while C and D had more good cards. After choosing 10 cards, the participants had no idea what was happening, but by 50 cards, most would suspect that some decks were better than others. Finally, after 80 cards, they could articulate that decks A and B were bad and C and D were good. But again, even though they knew it consciously, their skin conductance levels would rise as early as the first 10 cards in response to reaching for pile A and B. Their skin was already making unconscious signals about the right choice before their conscious mind did. Of course, their skin didn't know the correct answer, but their unconscious mind began understanding patterns before their conscious mind had. So, is following your intuition always the route to go? Not in cases of empathy, it turns out. A study involving over 900 participants found that when it came to accurately interpreting and understanding the feelings of others, systematic thinking, or carefully analyzing the information available before making a decision was more successful than going with what feels right. Relying on our past experiences is essentially how our intuition is formed, and it has helped our ancestors determine friend from foe. However, we were given two systems of thinking, fast and slow, and we recommend that it's best to follow them both.
So I'm using sort of I guess, a slow brain to go through this. So is it really intuition? Well, it's not really slow brain because I'm going through multiple layers of thinking. So I'm using it more on intuition because my past experience teaches me that you get more information if you actually look it up online, do all these very robust, research, and then put it all together and slap a conclusion at the end. So I guess yes, I am using intuition in that case. So what did we learn? Right. Intuition is more instinct, sorry, not intuition, is more of a fundamental thing. It's more of a natural fundamental process that sort of kicks in, right? Is a natural process rather than something sort of, I guess, that can be increased on. So I'm gonna just get the definition of instinct. Right, what's the definition of instinct? Okay, an innate typically fixed pattern of behavior in animals in response to a certain stimuli. Okay, well, I said instinct is a signal from the brain to act in reaction to a medium to high level threat scenario. An innate typically fixed pattern of behavior. Oh, actually, I left out the ability of it to grow. Okay, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. Imbue the yeah. So an innate typically fixed pattern of behavior in animals in response to a certain stimuli. Okay. Duplicate. An innate typically fixed pattern of behavior reaction to reaction to stimuli. Right. There we go. Now I'm gonna go on Discord and I'm gonna put it in here. What? Okay, would I say instinct is instinct an emotion? Yeah, no. That's why I refuse to call it that before. But okay, from now on, I'm not gonna do that anymore. I think I'm relying too much on Google. Okay. Education, the world, emotions, interesting topics. Just gonna say form. I'm just gonna say instinct. What's right? I'll use my answer. All right, instinct is a signal from the brain to act in reaction to a medium. To high level is a signal from the brain to act in reaction to a medium to high threat level scenario. Oof. Okay, there we go. Post. Then I'm gonna internet and SWR. Okay, boom. Post. BEHVIOUR. Okay, there we go. And there. Right? There we go. Okay. And that's all for today. Right? So that was instinct. Anyway. Peace. Don't forget, foreign.